But I'm so excited about this topic, which I say that every week, but it's because it's always true. Because this has been something that I've been in like a decent amount of like processing around lately. I've been thinking about this a lot. And it's funny because when I was picking this topic, I was like, are people going to get what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. I was kind of like on the fence about doing this topic and like, would I be able to describe it in the way I wanted to? And I had a call with one of my clients yesterday, and she said, almost like reflected to me the exact thing I was thinking about talking about. And she was like, well, you helped me so much in this way. And I was like, oh, that's so funny because I was thinking about talking about that. And she was like, oh, you have to. So, of course, perfectly timed as always, and super excited to dive into this. So let's just kind of start with the foundation, which is like, I think in this industry and in most coaching spaces, we're kind of, hey, Maggie, hey, Sarah, thank you for joining me. We're kind of conditioned that like accountability is like the thing, right? I would say like so many people I talk to are like, I need more accountability. I really need accountability. So many people that I talk to that are coaches see that as part of their value or selling point. And I really want to have a conversation around that, specifically related to business, why accountability is really not the thing that you need more of. Hey, Sarah, thank you. I'm so glad you love this. I hope it resonates. Accountability is really not the thing that you need more of. It's just sort of that catch-all. And it's actually something that ends up keeping you very stuck in your business sometimes and not actually moving you forward. And so let's talk about why you don't need it, what you actually need, and what's kind of like the shift we can make here around it. So most people think they need accountability because they want someone like riding them to get it done. Like, oh, sometimes I don't execute, so I like really need that accountability. I really need to know that someone's like there telling me what to do. I really want to be like checked in on. I really want like that, like, push to get shit done. So that's called having a job. I'm teasing, but like it is, right? Like that's the life that most of us wanted to leave. Like we hated having that boss, like, checking in on us all the time and having things that we had to have done by a certain date and having like this expectation set on us and having all this like pressure and parameters on us. Like, right? Is that not like what most of us hated the most about a 9-to-5? Aside from the fact that we maybe didn't feel like we were making an impact, but like on a day-to-day experience kind of thing, like you don't like someone riding you. But here's what happens. We do become accustomed to it. And so a lot of times we bring that to this space. We think like, oh, well, that's what I need. I need that accountability. I need to know someone's paying attention to what I'm doing. You don't. You're just repeating an old pattern. You've learned that was a way to get it done. Like your teachers did that. Like you had accountability to them, you had accountability to your parents, you had accountability to bosses, right? And so you don't actually need more accountability. It's just a conditioned habit. Does that make sense to everybody? Like it's just the way that we've grown up in many ways in this society, which is like being accountable to deadlines with bosses, jobs, teachers, school, etc. Like I so was like that. Like I was so good at being like the perfect student and the teacher's pet and always getting things done on time and being super, super accountable to my bosses, right? Like, yes. And I thought that moved me forward, but actually it was the thing I did not like, right? Hey, Jen, I can't wait to see you soon. So it's just a conditioned habit. It is not necessarily the thing that you need. And it's especially not the thing that's going to move you forward in your business. And I'll tell you why. What you need the most in your business as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is to really start being the CEO, right? You need to take on that role where like you are accountable to yourself. And that is such a mind fuck, moving from being accountable to other people almost your whole life to being like this shirt's driving me crazy, y'all, because I talk with my hands too much. It like doesn't stay down. I feel like a T-Rex. So it's either going to be up and I'm going to be talking with my hands, or I'm going to be like this. We'll just leave it up. Yeah. Okay. So what you really need is to make that mindset shift where like you're accountable to yourself. Like you want to do this for you. You want to do this because you're the CEO of your company. You don't want to make anyone that your strategist, your coach, anybody, right? Like you really want to take that on. Like more accountability does not equal more results. It equals more of the same pattern, right? Maggie says, yes. Sarah says, oh my God, fire. I love those emojis. Thank you. So what I really want you to think about is like, what hole am I trying to fill with saying like, I need more accountability? And if you said that, PS, so have I, like no judgment at all. It literally is what we're conditioned for. I just want to present a different way to think about it and also a different way to like help you lean into that. So you really need to be the CEO. That's a huge, huge, huge part of it. You need to be accountable to yourself. You need to show up in that way. You need to have team members that are, or team members under you that are actually accountable to you, not you being accountable to someone else. When you put anyone else in charge of accountability in your own business, you're destined for failure because nobody's ever going to care as much as you do. Nobody's ever going to be as invested as you do. And that's the difference between like the work mentality and the CEO mentality, right? I promise you, I am way more invested as a CEO than I was when I had a job, right? I had way more accountability when I had a job, but I don't need it in the same way now because I'm accountable to myself. I'm accountable to my business. I'm accountable to my clients. Does that make sense? So you do not need a coach or a program to give you more accountability. You need to step into that CEO role because that is actually what will shift everything. The other thing that you need, there's a lot of things you need, y'all. I'm kidding. The other thing that you need is a clear strategy and less decision fatigue. So a lot of the time when we're saying to someone, I want more accountability, what we're saying is like, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, I just want someone to tell me what to do. Who identifies with that? That's actually what we're saying. So overwhelmed. I just want someone to tell me what to do. I just can't make all these decisions. I don't know what's next. I just need someone to tell me what to do. Oh my God, this shirt. I can't. Sorry. I get so easily distracted by hair and clothes on here. Has anybody noticed that? So when we think about clear strategy, what we actually mean is take me to church, Lacey. Thank you, Sarah. I love you. Hey, Maggie May. Hey, Rita. Hi. So what we're really saying is I need a clear strategy. We don't actually need accountability. We need to know what we're doing. So I talk to my clients all the time about minimizing decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is basically when we make a million decisions all day, we actually get fatigued by them. And there's actually research that says we start making worse decisions. So by the time we're on our like 150th decision of the day, it's not the best decision. It's like actually why a lot of like diets, as an example, will encourage you to eat the same thing every day. And it's not because it's actually the most healthy. It's because it actually takes away your decision fatigue. When you're like maybe tired at night and have made a bunch of decisions, if you don't have to make a decision about what to eat, like usually you're going to get better, make a better decision. So when we're saying I want accountability, a lot of times what we're saying is I need less decisions. I need there to not be so much decision fatigue in my day because I'm making hundreds of them and I'm so fatigued and overwhelmed by them. In fact, I was talking to a client literally right before this, and we were talking about how she has children. So she has like these small chunks of time to work. When she has an hour to work, she spends 40 minutes of that, like even being like, what am I doing? It was the first time I've talked to her, by the way. So it's not like a long-term client that's still in decision fatigue. But she's spending, half of that time deciding what to even do. So her execution time is like this big. It's like nothing. And she's like, why? I'm not getting stuff done. What's wrong with me? And I'm like, well, nothing's wrong with you. You don't have a clear strategy. You're in decision fatigue all the time, right? Hey, Stephanie, you're there. You're totally in decision fatigue right now. I get that. You got sick because of it. 100%. Like it is so draining to your body to be making all these decisions every day. And naturally, as a CEO and an entrepreneur, we have to make way, way, way more, right? It's super cute though. You're looking like a bombshell. Thank you, Maggie May. That made my whole day that you called me a bombshell. I received that, as my friend Maggie, who is listening, would say. So you need a clear strategy and less decision fatigue. So it's not really the accountability. Like, do you really want someone to hold you accountable for the 150 things you need to do that day? No, that feels fucking awful, right? Like if you have a to-do list that you can't even get through, and then someone's like, did you finish your to-do list? Did you get it done? Did you check off your tasks in Basecamp? You're like, bitch, bye. Like that doesn't actually help. That doesn't feel better. Again, we might think it's what we want, but it is not the solution. The solution is getting a super clear and concise strategy and taking away that decision fatigue, right? So recap, being the CEO, number one, you're accountable to you and learning how to make that mindset shift. Number two, clear strategy and less decision fatigue. Number three, you need a place to process what's really going on and to work on your mindset, to actually talk about your strategy and to figure out what's stopping you from showing up for yourself in a positive way every day. So like, as an example, Stephanie's like, I got sick. It was fucking awful, right? She doesn't need more accountability. She needed a place to process, like, I'm in decision fatigue all the time. How do I get out of this? How do I create a clear strategy? How do I shift my mindset, right? Because that's the actual reflection that you need to move forward. You really don't need someone hounding you. Like, let's just be serious. Has that ever really worked for anybody? Like when you say, I'm just making something up, but like when you say to like a friend, can you make sure you work out every day this week? And they're like calling and texting you like, did you work out? Did you work out? Did you work out? Like, does that actually motivate you? Maybe for a very brief period of time, but like not all that much, not enough to actually keep doing it. It just doesn't. Right? You're like, oh my God, leave me alone. And we don't want to create that relationship with our clients at all, right? We do not want to create that situation where we're like the drill sergeant going, did you get it done? Did you get it done? And they're over here like, no, and I can't, and I'm stressed, and I'm getting sick, and whatever. They need a safe space to process what's actually going on in their business from the role of CEO, right? Maggie says, yes, now as a mother, I feel like I have decision fatigue ×3 before I ever put my CEO hat on. Hell yeah, right? Because you're making decisions for other people all the time. Then you have to make them in your business. Rita says a lot of times too, people say they want accountability, but they want a partner to brainstorm and solution storm off of, and just community, especially solo entrepreneurs who come from corporate America. They just want that contact they had. Totally get that. Yep. I so agree with that. So that's the other piece, right? Is like, have you ever really gotten long-lasting results from someone tracking like every ounce of your progress, from putting pressure on you to do better? Like, definitely not. And I would say especially people that are like driven to be entrepreneurs and have that gene, we actually fucking hate pressure, and we hate it when people are like taking away our freedom, right? Like, we hate that feeling of like the boss breathing down your neck. Don't replace that with the coach breathing down your neck. That is not useful at all. What you want to replace that with is you showing up as the CEO, you having a clear strategy that minimizes decision fatigue, and then you having a safe space to process all of that. So like, process the strategy, process the fatigue, have someone that you can help you make decisions and take some of that down without them having to hold you accountable. Because if you don't hold yourself accountable, you're not really being the CEO. And listen, when you do, is a bunch of stuff going to come up? Are you going to have mindset shit? Are you going to have a lot to process? 100%. Are you going to need a personalized strategy? Are you going to need personalized support? Hands down, that's where coaching comes in. That's the beauty of having a safe space. It's not so that someone holds you accountable to do what you need to do for yourself. It's so that someone can go, hey, what's going on with you that you're not showing up for yourself? Let's actually look at that, right? Let's actually see what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that actually moves the needle forward. Like, let's just use, I don't know. Let's use food as an example. Like, most people know, you guys know I love a good diet or dating analogy, right? Most people know what they should eat. And then they think, well, my solution is accountability. So let me be accountable to someone that I'm going to eat healthy all the time. And it seems like a good plan. But then what happens is they get there and actually, like, there's all this mindset stuff and all this stuff to process that's actually in the way. Like, it's not that I don't know that I should pick the salad. It's that I'm fucking tired and emotional and I want the mac and cheese. And so I really don't need you to hold me accountable and be like, but I'm going to be upset with you if you eat mac and cheese, or like, you better eat the salad. What I really need is someone to process with me what's going on there and to help me work through what's making me make that choice again and again. And that is so what we need in our businesses. We don't need someone going, you're making the wrong decision, you're doing the wrong thing, you have to do more, you need to show up for this. I'm watching to see if you do it. Can we just talk about how I said, I'm watching and pointed to my watch and I meant I'm watching? Like, I feel like my brain literally just malfunctioned live before your eyes. Okay. Right? We don't need someone being like, I'm watching. What we need is like, cool, what's going on? What helped you make that decision? Like, how do we make a better decision next time? How do you get support through that? And that's how you truly build sustainability, because you're actually accountable to yourself and you're actually figuring out the mechanisms that are getting in your way. Does that make sense? Stephanie says, how many hours do you work? Because of this thing you were speaking of, I'm doing crazy hours. I would say on any given week, I would say I average 40 hours. Sometimes I definitely do less, and there's definitely been weeks where I've done more. But I think that's like by choice based on like how many clients I want and how often I like to work. So like I'm single, I live by myself, like that feels really good for me. I have clients that work half that, and I have clients that work more than that. It's really like, I think, a personal opinion, but for me, 40 hours is about what I do. Rita says, I couldn't imagine asking you to keep looking over my shoulder. I'd probably not be your friend by this point. 100%, right? But I think it's so true that people think, I want that accountability. I want that person. And like what they really want is a safe space to process. What they really want is someone supporting them. What they really want is someone to see them. They actually don't need someone watching them. They need someone to help them like be empowered to watch themselves in that way, right? Here's what I want to say, a few more things as we wrap up. You really don't need accountability. You don't need another boss. You need to learn to be the boss, right? I think that's such a powerful way to think about it. Like, you don't want to trade like your 9-to-5 boss for another boss. You need to figure out how to be your own boss, and you need to learn how to be your own boss with more ease, right? And so when I say more ease, what I mean is like that stuff that we talked about, having the space to process and personalize, having the right support, having a strategy that takes away decision fatigue. Rita, hi, I don't know what the freak happened. I said I wasn't even like touching it. I was talking with my hands and it was just like, your video has ended. I was like, okay. Thank you for joining me again. Okay, so you want to learn how to be your own boss. That's real freaking important. You do not want to just transfer it. Don't go from one boss to like having a coach as a boss, because that is not sustainability. You're never going to grow your business from that place. The other thing you want to do is like figure out what your strengths are and really lead into them. So a lot of times we're thinking accountability because we're like thinking that something isn't our strength. So like, let's use my framework, mindset, strategy, and execution. So if you think like, well, execution's not my strength, so I need accountability because that's just not my strength. That's not the thing. What you need is to lean more into your strengths. So if mindset and strategy are them, great, lean even more into that. And then get a coach to support you in working through that place where you're challenged, or get a team member, or both, right? So you really need to know what your strengths are instead of trying to hire a coach to just like beat you into shape or accountability you into shape, right? If execution just isn't a strength, then cool, that's something we need to work on in the coaching space, but not through me going, did you get done? Did you get done? Did you get done? Did you get done? Through me going, cool, why is that hard? What's going on? What can we shift? What can we look at? How do we change your mindset? Does that make sense? So once you know what your strengths are, you can really lean into that. And then once you know where you're not feeling the most in control or powerful, you don't need more accountability. You need to figure out how to shift that, which goes back to that. You need a safe space to process what's really going on and to get personalized support around that, right? The other thing is, I just want to like preface this by saying I do give my clients to-dos every week. So we have coaching calls, they get off and they have to-dos from me. There's a big difference between that and accountability. I give them the to-dos because I want them to have that clear strategy and less decision fatigue. I don't give it to them because I'm like an authority on like them getting shit done. Like, I don't want to make them feel bad or guilty or ashamed or not right or whatever if they're not done. Like, they're the ultimate authority on what gets done in their business, but I want them to feel clear and not having decision fatigue. So if stuff on that to-do list isn't getting done, my job isn't to crack the whip. Ew. Like, who responds to that? Who doesn't feel shittier from that? My job is to go like, hey, I see that we're not doing this one thing. Like, what's going on there? Let's talk about it. And then we get to open the conversation and like have a beautiful discussion about what's actually going on there and actually solve it and fix it and create sustainability for good. Instead of like, can you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Also, you should do this. Like that, again, just doesn't help and doesn't get anybody anywhere. So don't hire for accountability. Hire for someone that's going to be like, what can I do to support you in getting this thing done that's going to move you forward, right? How do I help you with the person you are, the business you have, the strengths you are, move forward on this? That is the ticket, right? I think that, you know, what we really want is to be the CEO, to like step into that role. Like you have to do that to run your own business. Like you have to want to do the work. You know what I mean? Like this shit ain't easy. Listen, does it get easier? 100%. But is running your own business like an easy endeavor? It's really not. It takes so much from you, both practically and mindset wise, that if you don't want to show up as the CEO, if you don't want to do this work, if you are not feeling motivated by that, like something has to happen, right? You either have to figure out what's getting in your own way or you have to change the work you're doing. You don't need more accountability. If you're not showing up, you're either getting in your own way for some reason, whether that's not having a clear strategy, having mindset issues, whatever, or you need to change the work you're doing because you really don't want to show up for it that much. It's really quite simple. It's just hard to process because, again, no shame in that game. We've been conditioned that we always have people we're accountable to, a teacher, a parent, a boss, whatever. This is like a whole new ball game. You the boss, right? But the reason you're doing this is because you wanted to get out of a lot of those frameworks, right? And so that's the thing I want you to remember here is like, you gotta want it. You gotta want to do the work. If you're not, either there's something standing in your way, beautiful, let your coach help you solve that, or you got to change the work you're doing. It's that simple. So you don't want to replace it with another boss. You don't want to get back into that habit, right? So I really hope this takeaway is that like what you want to do is figure out how to get support to be the best boss that you can be, how to be the best CEO that you can be, how to get out of your way, how to have a clear strategy, how to execute like a boss. You do not want support to go, did you get it done? Did you get it done? Did you get it done? Because you're just recreating an old pattern there and you're not really going to see the success that you want because of it. So I hope that was helpful. I would love to know your thoughts on this. I would love to hear more from you about how you're stepping into being your own boss, how you're letting go of decision fatigue. I think that was the thing that a lot of people resonated with, is this idea of like having a clear strategy and less decision fatigue. 9 times out of 10, when we're craving that accountability, it's because we're craving like not making more decisions, but that's still a different problem to solve, and accountability doesn't solve it. So most of the problems that you're having, accountability does not solve. What I want you to figure out is like, how do I step into that CEO role? How do I play to my strengths? How do I be the best boss and leader I can be? How do I get the support I need that actually supports all of that, not that just cracks the whip, right? Because that doesn't actually help. It's like Maggie was saying that it just is looking for validation outside of yourself. And kind of the whole game we're playing in running our own businesses is to be in charge and to get that validation ourselves and to drive that bus. So hope this was helpful. I'm sorry that it cut off. I love you all for joining me. Thank you, Rita. Thank you guys who jumped back on. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, whether you're watching now or the replay. And I hope that you have a beautiful weekend. So keep me posted. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.